All right, what's up, Moon Cutter fans? It is a freezing, blistery cold for Saturday morning. Sorry, I'm losing track of what day it is. But anyways, we are now 8 days away from the hottest event in the world of football, the biggest annual game there is, and one of the most prestigious matchups. We are a week away from the Super Bowl, and I'm going to be honest, I did not expect either of the teams that are in the dance to make it this year. And even better because we got a guest on that we'd had previously before the season started that I think we can both say that the Eagles exceeded our expectations. What do you think, Eric, from the Philly podcast?
Hey, man. Well, thanks again for having me back on, man. It was great the last time that I was on. Couldn't wait to get back on here when you invited me back. Yeah, man. Like I was just saying off air, us here on the Philly podcast at CEV Sports, we were completely shocked by the level of I guess you could say preparedness that Jalen Hurts did in the offseason and how he performed. Because coming out of last year, we were very hesitant to say anything about him being our franchise quarterback. We weren't sold on him. And we openly said, many times on our show and on social media, prove us wrong. Prove us wrong. We'll eat crow live on air. And I'm full of crow. I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. So, I mean, the guy came out and he balled out. And, I mean, you could never, even last season, you could never doubt his ethic, his work ethic, his time in the gym, and all that stuff. You could never, his leadership. There was no question about that. But he came into this season, man. He determined. So yeah, we're very happy.
I mean, the biggest thing I'm taking away and thinking back on having you back to discuss the Eagles going to the Super Bowl is that if I'm not mistaken, when I had you on before the season started to go over our predictions for the year, we both pretty much had them coming in as a wild card spot and expected a first round bounce.
Yeah,
and we couldn't have been further off because they came in as the most dominant team in the league, first round bye, and are sitting pretty coasting into the Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts as one of the top candidates for MVP this year. And it makes it even better because he's going to be facing off against the other top candidate.
Yeah, there's so many storylines going into this Super Bowl that it's truly amazing. I mean, you have Andy Reid going against the Eagles, team that he coached for 14 years. You have Nick Sirianni, who was fired by Andy Reid when Andy Reid first got to Kansas City. Andy Reid brought his guys in and cut Nick Sirianni loose. Now you have Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun. I'm thinking Deshaun Watson for some reason. Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes, the first two black quarterbacks to face off against each other in a Super Bowl. I mean, that's historic alone. And there's a lot of good storylines that play and factor into this Super Bowl, and it couldn't have worked out at a better time. Really couldn't have.
We also have the second set of brothers facing each other in the Super Bowl.
I forgot about the Kelce's.
Because we had the Harbaughs back as coaches when it was the Niners versus the Ravens. And now we've got the Kelce brothers facing off on the opposite ends of the ball with the Eagles and the Chiefs. Like there's a lot to unpack going into this one.
There absolutely is. There's a lot going on, and it's like I said, it's just awesome. I can't wait to see this game. I'm a little disappointed that the Chiefs are coming in, banged up. Like their three top wide receivers. Looks like, who knows what their status is going to be for the game. Mahomes is banged up. So, I mean, it's I really would love to have seen both teams at 100%. The same I would have loved to have seen San Francisco and the Eagles, both teams playing at 100%, because there's a lot of controversy coming out of that win now. And personally, I think it's just 49ers fans and their feelings, that they can't take the fact that they lost to the Eagles. So because the level of butthurt that I've seen on social media from 49ers fans has been epic level, epic level, just so upset.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Hopefully, you take no offense to this, but in the NFC Championship game, I definitely was riding the Brock Purdy hype train and was hoping for a San Francisco victory in that. But the better team prevailed.
Well, I mean, the Brock Purdy story it's really great. I mean, being Mr. Irrelevant, not even expected to see the field ever. You know, I mean, most Mr. Irrelevants never make it out of training camp. You know, they're either let go or whatever. Um, the fact that he came in as the third string quarterback and went on the streak that he did, playing at a level that he was playing at, was was remarkable. It really was. It was a great story. And if they continued on to go to the Super Bowl, that just would have added to the now legend of Brock Purdy. I mean, you're talking, yeah, the Phillies, the Eagles won the Super Bowl with a backup quarterback and Nick Foles, and then just imagine just 5 years later, um, just imagine that has to be Chris. That has
That
to be
was
my.
my thought. That was my thought too. And I'm definitely gonna facepalm when I bring up the other comment that Chris left already because it's just like, wow, dude.
He went for.
Uh, Now I gotta ask: does Chris walk around with the tinfoil hat on after this comment?
No, no. Chris is not one of those guys, but he definitely has his opinions. He was just going off on somebody on Twitter. It was quite epic. Um,
I'm gonna have to
it,
go back and see if I can find that thread.
I'd probably put you in that thread. I'll have to put you in there, but that was quite epic. But yeah. I mean, I mean, like I fell in love with the Brock Purdy story. I mean, how could you not? It's just awesome. And I mean, I've seen comments from people who are saying, "Oh, well, the Eagles played dirty because he got hurt." It was a clean hit by Hassan Reddick. I mean, Hassan Reddick did what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to get to the quarterback, get to the ball. It was a clean hit. And like I said, a lot of 49ers fans are just up in their feelings about the whole thing because
I guess we'll
they,
just leave that up because we are discussing this now.
yeah, that's fine. So, yeah, I mean, hey, look, I've been on the other end of it in my feelings before. When I felt that my team was the better team and should have won and they didn't win. But hey, man, it's football. That's why it's any given Sunday.
I mean, look at me with this past season as well. I know that feeling too, being a Jets fan, because
Hmm.
if it weren't for injuries to our offensive line, I think we would have easily made the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
But
they
once Vera Tucker went down, Max Mitchell and the rest of our offensive line ended up being third stringers. It's obvious. So, yeah,
oh yeah,
I can feel the pain on that.
oh yeah. So, but no, I can't wait for this game. Can't wait. I love the fact that it's ask Wentz. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I mean,
hey,
Clowney
Chris,
knocked him into next week.
if you're free, why don't you join in the chat room and join the discussion?
He probably will jump in.
He also wants to point out McNabb broken ribs in 2003. Yeah, no, that's a spam bot. That's gone.
He's like, no, that's a spam. Oh, that's funny.
Oh, hit not his.
I don't know what he's talking about. Chris is typing how he talks.
But I mean, 14-3. That's a hell of a run,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
given how many games were you missing Jalen Hurts this year?
So
Oh,
Jalen
he only
Hurts on
missed
the
two games.
season he went 14-1 as a starter this year. They lost 2 when he was out.
And the one game that he was in that they lost was, if I'm not mistaken, the Cowboys.
Nope, Monday Night Football versus Washington. I know real well because I was
Oh,
there. I went in there going, "Oh, this is going to be so awesome," and we got this. They said they brought us back down.
all right. So Chris is not available to join in because he's at a cheer competition.
Oh, okay.
But I was looking here at some of your season stats, and like you guys have balled out all year. 2509 on total rushing yards, 4364 total passing yards, 22 for 25 on the year for field goals, 59 touchdowns, a +8 turnover ratio for the year. 32 of those touchdowns were rushing, 25 passing, 2 defensive. Like the stats are those are some pretty tough stats to overcome here.
Yeah. Yeah, they put up one heck of a season, man. They really did. I mean, especially on defense. Over 70 sacks, 39 of them came after week 6. Or no, week 7, 39 sacks after like week 6 or 7 of the season. Like that's insane. That's absolutely insane for those kind of numbers. So it was yeah, they put up some great numbers, man, and everyone talked about the defensive coordinator, and you want to talk about turning it around. He really turned it around. Yes, I do too, Eric.
Eric, another member of the Running Force Productions crew.
Nice.
And Reddick, not a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year, and BG, not a finalist for Comeback Player of the Year, is disrespectful.
I definitely agree. Yeah.
Do you have want to give some more insight on those two opinions?
Well, I mean, you look up Hassan Reddick's numbers compared to Micah Parsons and Joey Bosa. And he's not a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year is completely a slap in the face to the man. And I think that's what fueled him in this NFC Championship game. I mean, because he's just been amazing. And I expect nothing short of amazing again coming up in the Super Bowl in just 8 days. Brandon Graham, that guy, I felt for him because he's such a nice person, for him to come back and yes, he's not in an every down role like he was earlier on in his career for a while there. He played at a very high level coming off of a very bad injury. And that should have, in my opinion, he should have been in the running for the defensive or comeback player of the year. He should have been a finalist for that, at least in the conversation.
All right, I'm looking here at Hassan Reddick's stats for the year, and honestly, how is he not at least in the discussion? I mean, 49 total tackles, 35 solo, 14 of them assisted, 16 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries. Like those most of those stats he's tied for either first or second on for the year.
Exactly.
And he's not in the discussion?
Nope, not at all. That's the thing that I just couldn't understand. I thought he would be a shoo-in for Defensive Player of the Year finalist. And yeah, when the news broke of the guys who were in it, I was like, dude, that's worse than being left off the Pro Bowl roster, being an all-star. When you're having a great season, they go, oh, well, somebody has to be left off. And, not everyone's going to like the decision. You just read the stats, and he's either 1 or 2 in all of them, and he's not up for this. That's a slap in the face. That really is. But hey, I'm looking at it this way. He's now got more fuel to the fire to prove all those people wrong. And he started last week in the NFC title game.
I hadn't thought about it until seeing Chris's comment about it. But now that I look at his stats and look at who the finalists are, that's robbery.
Well, yeah. I mean, then you look at it. It's like it's okay. The Cowboys. I mean, look, I love Micah Parsons. He's one of my favorite defensive players in the game today. He really is. And I mean, he's a Cowboy. I don't care. I look at him as a Penn State kid. To me, he's local. So I will always like Micah Parsons. I drafted him on my fantasy team. But then you got Bosa.
Oh, your fantasy squad goes IDP.
What's that?
Your fantasy league goes IDP.
Yes, it does.
I have
Yes,
not
it
gotten
does.
into an IDP league yet.
They're so much fun. Yeah, we got rid of kickers and team defenses and team special team, and we went just IDP. We did that a few years ago. A lot of fun. Um, but the Cowboys had an early exit from the playoffs yet again for 29 years now, 28, 29 years. Um, and Bosa just got like manhandled in the NFC title game. I mean, there's one play where Jordan Mailata takes him to the ground and basically just lays on him, and Bosa doesn't even try to get up. Because Bosa knew he's like, okay, this is going to be a long day, and Bosa didn't even try to get up. No kicking, no squirming, nothing. Like Mailata just put his force on him and just sat there like, nah, bro, you're in for it. Yeah, which Chris is right about that with Micah Parsons. He had a lot of sacks after the 8 games, and then he disappeared in a lot of big moments. I mean, the Eagles owned him. The Eagles completely owned him. They ran right at him, and that's how they took him out of the game. They ran right at him.
All right. So moving into the big game, biggest X factors.
Hmm.
I mean, I know we got to look at Jalen Hurts as one of them.
Well, biggest X factors, it's obviously Jalen Hurts. Um, this wide receiver core that the Eagles have with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. That that's they're literally probably the two best wide receivers left left playing. I mean, because like I said, the Chiefs, like their three top wide receivers are all hurt. I mean, McCole Hardman has already been ruled out for the game. So, um, X factors, wide receivers. I think defense. I mean, there's just the Eagles are so complete, and I don't want to sound like I'm like pumping my chest out, but they're so complete. There's a lot of choices for X factors, to be honest with you.
Another one that I'd look at that has been maybe overlooked, but I think is a huge asset for your offense and special teams. Boston Scott, like
Yes.
one of the more reliable third down backs that I've seen in the league this year.
Yeah, that's always. It's funny, man. He just comes up at the right times, and he's definitely a giant killer. He did it again to them in the playoffs. Absolutely did it again. I mean, uh Chris actually put on Twitter the one day that like he can't wait to see the retirement party for Boston Scott that the Giants throw, which I thought was completely funny. But yeah, real quick, I gotta switch out my earbud. I gotta go to my headset. I'm about to lose power here.
Gainwell's somebody that the teams forget about. Yes, I'm not gonna lie. I had him as a bench depth on my fantasy squad the couple years. Was it last year, the year before? And during bye weeks, he came in clutch.
Oh, Kenny Gainwell is, yeah, Chris is right. Kenny Gainwell is definitely someone else that a lot of people forget about. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Just to make sure. You
Yeah,
got me?
I can hear you. You're just slightly muffled, but it's fine.
No problem. Let me get this closer to my face. But yeah, Kenny Gainwell, he's come up big, which I mean, Mailata should be in jail for assault on Bosa. Yeah. But Gainwell is part of the reason. There you go. There it is. The retirement party that the Giants will throw for Boston Scott. Um, yeah, Kenny Gainwell, I think, just made a case for himself for next season. Because Miles Sanders is a free agent after this game. After the season's over, he's a free agent. Um, there's a lot of guys that are free agents on the Eagles roster that may there's going to be some turnover, but between Boston Scott and Kenny Gainwell, I mean, we'll see if the Eagles believe in Gainwell enough to let him take the reins, or I don't know, maybe draft another running back. I mean, I don't know. I can't call that, but I'm going to hate to see Sanders go, and I don't know if he's going to come back.
That was going to be my next question: is do you see them putting up the money to retain him, or if not, where do you see him playing next year?
Oh, well, I I'm gonna say that he's out of here. I don't. I think they're gonna try and put their money somewhere else because I'd rather see them sign C.J. Gardner Johnson, who was another steal of an acquisition that Howie Roseman made with New Orleans. First he robs them of a first round pick, and then he robs them of C.J. Gardner Johnson, who leads the league in interceptions and missed 6 games. Where Sanders could go, I don't know. I really don't know. Wherever he goes, I wish the guy well. I mean, he's obviously not going yet, but I don't see them putting any money into him. I mean, they're going to, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, say if they franchise tagged him, I believe it's like $10 million for the season. I don't know if they're going to do that. So, but I don't know where he could go though.
Well, $10 million for a running back isn't exorbitant, depending on how high caliber the running back is and how important they are to your game plan.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that was still the position itself. I mean, because the way I look at it is you had a 2-headed monster back there between between Sanders and Jalen Hurts.
Oh,
So I mean, I don't think. What's that?
We just got a prediction in on the comments about where Miles Sanders could end up next year.
Oh, where could he go? I could see. Well, let's see. Dolphins don't really. They have Raheem Mostert. I like him, but I mean, they could use an upgrade at running back. Yeah, I mean, so that's a good possibility. Chicago would be interesting. That would be very interesting to see him play with Fields because, in my opinion, Justin Fields is basically Jalen Hurts from last season. Like they didn't trust his arm wasn't refined enough, so he ran a lot, and if he takes the steps that Jalen Hurts did from say this season going into next year, you never know. Justin Fields could be that he could be the next I like to say the next Jalen Hurts because his game reminds me so much of Jalen Hurts from last year. Like he was a one read and run. If his guy wasn't there, he took off. Justin Fields was doing that a lot this year, and it's one of those things. I mean, but Miles Sanders is one of those guys where you pair him with a good quarterback, and like you said, with the proper game plan, it'll work. And I would be interested to see that though with him in Chicago with Justin Fields. I would really be interested in that.
It's going to be interesting no matter what next year with the NFC North because with all the speculation that Aaron Rodgers is going to be traded to either the Raiders or the Jets.
Yeah.
There's going to be a void to fill for top dog in that division.
Yeah, there will. There will. I mean, I know that there has been talk of, or it came out where it's believed that they would rather, in Green Bay, would rather part ways with Aaron Rodgers and, see where he goes. That'll be awesome.
All right, Eric Reffert wanted to know, what do you think of the one Giants player who said Nick Sirianni's just a cheerleader coach?
He's a clown. Julian Love is a clown. Flat out clown. He got burnt. Devontae Smith is still laughing at him for burning him on that touchdown play. So, but his comments they're so stupid, if you ask me. He's sitting there saying that he's only good because he's got good players around him. Isn't that the point? Isn't that the point of every team? Get players to go around your quarterback. You build around who you feel is your franchise player. You put good people around your quarterback, good things are going to happen. I don't care who you are. That's the whole point, though. That's why you build in the draft. That's why you sign free agents. So that's why you make good trades. You put good people around other players, and that's the point. You get the best team. That is the whole point. So his comments to me just sounded like he was a little butthurt that they got beat 3 times in 1 year, butthurt that he got burnt bad, and that they're out. He doesn't like the fact that he's sitting in a studio talking about the Super Bowl. Excuse me, that he's talking about the Super Bowl and not being in it, which I don't understand because the Giants had a hell of a season compared to where they were last season to now. Hell of a season. Nothing to be butthurt about. You did great. I applauded the Giants for what they did.
Oh, I agree as well. And, it's overlooked how quite often how impactful a good general manager can be for a franchise, because everybody wants to put all the eyes on the team itself. And if the team flounders, they put all the blame on the coach. But
Yeah,
realistically, the coach, you could have the best coach in the freaking league and still be mediocre if you have a general manager that's not giving you the proper pieces to excel.
right.
Look
And
look
I'm
at
sorry,
the
go ahead.
look at the Jets towards the end of the Rex Ryan era when McCagnon kind of started floundering. Look
Right.
at the past 10 years with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You got Mike Tomlin, who's looking at his stats, his records, surefire Hall of Fame coach,
He's never
but
had a losing season.
look at the talent level that the Steelers have had over the past 10 years. It's been dropping consistently.
Oh, yeah. Dropping
And
consistently.
it just goes to show that oh god, I'm drawing a blank. Kevin Colbert, though he did amazing during the first part of his career, building the team that he did for the 05 to 2012 runs, and the early part of Tomlin's regime, looking at what he's done the second half of it, general management and player or roster filling is huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and like real quick to go back to the Giants real fast. Like you mentioned about the GM. Well, they brought in Brian Dable, and look at the coaching that he did. I mean, look at what he did for Daniel Jones. Turned that kid's career completely around this season. So much to the point where they had first said that they weren't going to give him the fifth year option, to now they're talking about signing him again. And honestly, with this coach, Daniel Jones, if the cards go in his favor and say they sign him to a 3-year deal, maybe say, I don't know, between like 25 and 30, he's in for 3 years. He's in line for a huge payday 3 years down the road, still a young kid. So I mean, this situation is actually really good for the Giants with Dable and Daniel Jones.
Oh yeah.
How far it goes, who knows? But you'll have him around a lot longer. The coach, well, Daniel Jones a lot longer than Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley is a hell of a talent, but running backs don't last. And if they're going to build, they're going to. Dable's the guy to build around Daniel Jones.
I will say Saquon was a huge factor for the Giants' success this year.
He
I
was.
mean, it's the first year of his career that he's managed to stay healthy the entire season.
Yeah.
And look at the success the Giants have had. And
Yeah.
your point again about Daniel Jones, I can agree with you there as well, because up until last year and this year, Daniel Jones was like a punchline for me.
He was.
Like I was looking at him as being the next Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
That measuring stone as to, are you actually an NFL worthy quarterback or not?
Right. And I mean,
But looking at the past 2 seasons and him having the success he's had and earning the nickname of Danny Dimes, I think he's got a bright future ahead of him if he's able to stay with a consistently well-built team.
yeah, definitely. And the fact that they brought the right coach in to coach that team, I think I think that they're going to be a little bit of a force the next few years in the division. Because yeah, Dallas was good. They were good. They on paper they always have a good team, but also on paper stats and records are what they are, and we see what they've done. They don't get past the divisional round. They don't get past wild card round. You know what I mean? But they're always in the mix. The Eagles are always in the mix. The Giants are now throwing their hat in the mix. And for up until a certain point during this season, there was a chance that all 4 teams from the NFC East would have made the playoffs, which is kind of freaky.
But yeah, there was a couple divisions that had that string of dominance this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, up until week, what was it, 15, 16, you would have looked at it and thought the entire AFC East was going to make it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have that. You just have that going on, and I'm just glad that the NFC East is no longer just a 2-team division. I'm happy about that because I think when all the teams are good, the competition is better because you play each other 2 times a year. So the competition is better. You're going to play harder. You're going to want it more. And literally comes down to your 53 being better than the other team's 53, no matter who's starting at what position. And with the NFC East, I'm always going to say the NFC East is always going to be the greatest division ever because of how every year they just flip flop who's the division champ. Every year it just changes every single season.
Wait, AFC East or NFC East?
I'm sorry, NFC East. I said AFC because you were talking. You mentioned it.
I was going to say AFC East for the last 20 years has been mostly the Patriots game.
Yeah. No. I meant the NFC East. My apologies there.
All good.
Every year it's someone different coming in, and I mean, I love the competition factor. Do I hate the fact that they're all getting good? Yeah, because you never know. The Eagles after this season could hit a slump for 2 years. They don't win a division, and whatever. But I like when football is competitive. It makes it more fun, and we literally have one of the most fun divisions in all of football, just from fan standpoint.
Now, I would want to ask, looking at the fact that last time you guys were in this position, a lot of the credit can be attributed to the guy that was at that time the director of player personnel for your team,
Okay.
or head scout, whichever title you want to call him, Joe Douglas. I want to ask, who would you say has been the biggest factor this year in getting you guys prepared for this?
Oh, I can tell you right now, like if you're asked, like, say who the MVP of the team is of the season, Howie Roseman. Absolutely Howie Roseman. Every decision this guy has made, just like in 2017, he's hit. He shocked the NFL world by making the trade for AJ Brown at the draft. Then he signs Hassan Reddick, who, like, okay, we already spoke about him. He should be a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. He's been dominant. He goes out and he trades a bag of balls for C.J. Gardner Johnson. Excuse me again. He winds up leading the league in interceptions, still with missing 6 games. And then down the line, after the loss to Washington, where I was at that game, he acknowledged and saw that they needed help on the defensive line to stop the run. He goes out, he gets Linval Joseph, he signs Dominic and Sue. So, I mean, this guy went out and hit on everything that he needed to do. And he put a lot of depth on the line because you win the games in the trenches. Like Andy Reid, that's how the man drafts. If he doesn't get his player where he wants to get him, he always drafts a lineman. He always makes sure that there is someone in a rotation for his lines, whether it's offensive or defensive, to make sure that these guys are good to go. And yeah, I'd say Howie Roseman for me. I mean, there's lots of players that you could say that, but I'm going Howie Roseman. The guy's he should win GM of the year.
Okay. I have nothing I can argue on that against that point with. All right. One last comment question before we move on to the next point. Wanting to know if Mike Thomas can stay healthy and where will he be traded to in the offseason?
Mike Thomas. That's a good question. That's a really good question. I mean, it's always interesting to see if anybody can stay healthy.
Sorry, I didn't realize. It took me a second. Sorry, we're discussing Ravens now. Apparently.
Well, it is your show. I don't know. I'm like Mike Thomas.
I was just going with the comments, so I'm like, okay, he must be one of the Eagles.
No, but no, that's actually pretty awesome though, because like
wrong Dirty Birds there, Dante. Wrong Dirty Birds.
Yeah, hey, it doesn't matter though. I can give my opinion on Mike Thomas. I mean, when a guy has a history of being hurt, it's tough to see if they can sustain health. So I mean, like Dante does have legitimate like worry there. I don't know if the guy will be traded though. I really don't. I think they like him. I think they want to work with him because he does have the talent. So, I mean, if he does get traded, I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised.
All right. Next point I wanted to bring up, the fact that the top candidates for the MVP race are Jalen Hurts and Pat Mahomes. I'm currently seeing Pat Mahomes ranked slightly above Jalen Hurts in this.
Yeah.
And I don't buy it.
Yeah, because I kind of agree with that. I mean, I think Mahomes is going to win it, but I honestly think that Jalen Hurts should be the MVP. I mean, they're going to hold against him those 2 games that he missed, and that's fine. I mean, it is what it is.
I don't know what they look for in the stats, but as somebody on the outside looking in, seeing the fact that you went 14-1 as a starter, and 2 of the only 3 losses your team took this year were while you were sidelined with injury, I would have thought that would have raised his MVP stock.
To me, it does. To me, it really does, because that just shows you how important Jalen Hurts is to the team. That shows you just how important he is to that system and the game planning. Because I mean, as much as I like Gardner Minshew, he's not Jalen Hurts. He doesn't have the legs of Jalen Hurts. I mean, last season, could he make some throws better than Jalen Hurts? Yeah. But now this year, Jalen Hurts was making those same throws. Jalen Hurts is able to make almost every single throw that you ask him to make, whether it's a post route, slant, whatever it is, he can do it. But yeah, to me, it showed that they lost 2 games while he was out with an injury. To me, that boosted his stock as MVP. Like if I was a writer for the AP, I would put my vote towards Jalen Hurts. But
given that 2-game loss, or 2 of the only games that the Eagles lost, and I know I missed it, but what happened in the Washington game?
What, the one with the Monday night game when they lost?
Yeah,
that Washington came prepared. I honestly think that the Eagles. I think at that point the Eagles were kind of feeling themselves. You know what I mean? It's like I think they were starting to really, really buy into their own hype, and Washington just came in and ran all over them. They threw the ball all over them. The Eagles really looked lost. They really looked lost in that game. They just couldn't knock down and make the right adjustments. And let's face it, when people say, oh, well, after halftime, they're going to come out and make adjustments. No, they don't. They don't make adjustments. They go into there and they go, okay, we're just going to try this. Like, it's not like they're having a team meeting. Like teams, like these guys, they said, they're like, well, no, we don't really make adjustments. They're like, we don't see the coaches except for like 5 minutes. That's it. So the coaches, they can do their thing. They talk, and then that's it. But yeah, they just looked lost in that game. Like, I had a bad vibe from the second it started. Like, it started out great. I'm like, oh, okay, this is good. But I was watching the players on the sideline for Washington, and they just seemed to have like a different demeanor about them. They were prepared. They came in. It was a big stage for them.
Okay. Another question that it's either going to be poking the bear or going to get a laugh out of you. I don't know which way it's going to go yet, but after that game and after defeating his former team, how drunk do you think Carson Wentz got that night?
Well, I don't.
Or was he even the start? Or was it Taylor Heineke in that
starting.
game?
It was Heineke.
Oh.
Yeah, Hurts wasn't even. He wasn't playing. I'm sure for Jalen Hurts. I mean, for
Carson Wentz.
For Carson Wentz, I'm sure a little bittersweet. He would have loved to have been out there to play against them because he got hurt. And like, I was looking forward to it. As soon as I got the opportunity, when I knew I was going to the game a few weeks in advance, I was like, oh, it's going to be great. I'm going to be there to see Carson Wentz. Like, okay, whatever. Because I'm one of the few, I will applaud him for his role in the 2017 Super Bowl. I don't discredit him as a champion just because he wasn't on the field.
The season leading up to the Super Bowl.
Well,
you got to think it was Nick Foles that played in the Super Bowl.
I see it, yeah, but if it wasn't for Carson Wentz, they wouldn't have been in that position. What I mean? Because Carson Wentz scored the game-winning touchdown against the Rams after he blew out his knee. He literally scored through the touchdown pass for the go-ahead for the go-ahead score, and Nick Foles just came in and finished the game, then finished the season, and had an epic few games and an amazing Super Bowl. See, I don't like to play that game with people because people are trying to say, oh well, look what they did with Carson Wentz, but Nick Foles went and beat Tom Brady, so automatically they think they would have had the same season with Nick Foles as quarterback. No, you wouldn't have. No, you wouldn't have. That's like saying this season, oh yeah, your last 3 games of the season, oh, you're probably not going to have Jalen Hurts because he's injured now. Some people are going to say, oh, you're going to lose all 3. No, you're not. You're not going to lose all 3. And they didn't. I saw people that said that they were going to win out. I was like, no, they're not. I was like, Minshew's not the same quarterback as Jalen Hurts.
No.
So I don't know. I think Carson Wentz would have loved to have been on the field, of course. Like, I'm sure he would have loved to have been on the field for the Super Bowl victory. I think to him at this point, it's situations. It is what it is. He wasn't playing. He was hurt. And I don't think he lets it bother him. I don't think he lets it get to him. But I would still love to know what happened, why there was such a disconnect between him and like management and in some cases the players. I would love to know that, and I don't think we'll ever find out, but I would love to know what happened.
All right. I guess the last point I wanted, or headline, whatever you want to call it, predicting the Super Bowl.
Whew.
Who wins? How big of a spread? If you're a betting man, who are you putting money on for touchdowns?
Well, I know the last time I checked, the Eagles were favored by 2.5. I don't know if that has moved. I don't know if that has changed or not, like 8 days away. But I know the Eagles were the favorite. I would bet the Eagles. I would actually.
I'm bringing it up on DraftKings now.
Yeah, I mean, like I would bet the Eagles. I mean, because Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. He's going to find a way to do what Patrick Mahomes does. So, I mean, I would never bet against him. A player prop, I would always bet in any time Jalen Hurts touchdown. I would absolutely do that. Like, that's almost money. What else? Fine. I don't see it, but I'm not putting it past. Like, if both teams score, like someone scores 30, not like, I don't say like 30, 31, 30, 27, 31, 27.
Okay, so right now, looking at DraftKings, the Eagles are a minus 1.5. So they're only projected to win by 1.5 points.
1.5. I would take that.
I would take the. I
would take the
spread
Chiefs
on this one.
Yeah, I absolutely would. I would pick either one, to be honest with you. It just depends on who. I think it's going to come down to whoever you want to win. You're just going to throw that bet down.
Now, are we? Are we going to say Jalen Hurts for MVP for the Super Bowl? I'd assume.
If the Eagles win the Super Bowl, I'm absolutely going to say he's going to be the MVP, because I think it's already predetermined that Patrick Mahomes is going to win MVP of the league, because that comes out that's announced before the Super Bowl. So if the Eagles win, I think that's going to be Jalen Hurts.
Okay. Now the other thing that I saw trending on Twitter that has me cracking up that I think would be awesome to do. I believe her name, Janet Kelsey, to do the opening coin flip.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Or either Janet or Judy. I can't remember her first name. I know it starts with a J.
The mom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be kind of cool if she did that, because there was a picture floating around where she has a jersey on where
that, like the front and the left shoulder is Travis, and the back is the right shoulder and the back is.
Yep. Yeah. I mean,
what's the name of the Kelsey brother that's on your squad?
We have Jason Kelsey.
Jason.
Yeah, we have Jason Kelsey. That would be cool to see.
But she's got to be wearing that jersey when she does the coin flip.
Oh God, yes. I absolutely believe she would. Now, the funny thing is, I don't remember which Kelsey brother it is, but one of them, their wife, I think it's Jason's wife, is pregnant again. Like, they have a 3-year-old daughter, who, by the way, is the cutest in the world. Like, she hates the Dallas Cowboys. they recorded her on their baby cam the other morning. It was like last week or something leading up to the San Fran game where they caught her on the baby cam. She just woke up and she just started singing EAGLES Eagles. Like that kid is absolutely adorable. But but I believe Jason Kelsey's wife is pregnant with their second child. She's bringing her OBGYN to the Super Bowl in case she goes into labor. Like she's not missing the game. She's bringing her doctor to the game in case she goes into labor. How awesome is that?
Oh God, who was the player that last year that I believe was the Super Bowl as well?
It was the Rams. One of the Rams players. His wife went into labor as the game ended.
Yeah, that being insane if that happens 2 years in a row.
That would be funny. But yeah, his wife is literally bringing her doctor to the game with her in case she goes into labor. I was like, must be nice to have money like that. Come on, Doc. I'm about to pop a kid out. You're coming with us.
I'm sure the doc's like, wait, you want me to go with you to the Super Bowl? Don. Hey, secretary, cancel all my appointments for this weekend.
I'm a little busy for the Super Bowl. I'm busy. I'm sorry. I'm going to be there delivering a baby.
But anyways, I think we've covered most of the big points going into this one.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Eric, I want to say it's been a great pleasure having you back.
Oh man, no problem. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, for sure. Probably be looking to have you back here in a couple months for the preseason preview again.
Yeah, yes, can't wait.
Since that's a series I'm planning on doing again this year. Hopefully, I have better luck and can get more teams covered this year.
Yeah, that'll be. It's always fun when you get more people involved. It really is, like having a round table.
I know last year I think I only had like 7 or 8 teams covered.
Really?
Yeah, but I've been slowly networking, so let's see how this year goes. I'm hoping to at least cover half the league.
Well, I wish you luck in getting all the people you need. Well, you got a couple guys from Philly.
Oh, for sure. You want to give a couple shout outs where the fans can follow you?
Yeah, actually can. Like it says right here under my name here, at CEV Sports is our Twitter handle. I believe it's the same for our Instagram, or I think that's like _Philly _Philly podcast. Chris did that one. I don't have it in front of me, but we are contracted out by sixpackcoverage.com. They have their own, obviously they have their own website. They have a YouTube channel where they cover all kind of stuff, sports, fishing, food. We're sponsored by La Terrain Watches and the monkeysuncle.net. If you are into retro fan styles with a Philly twist, go check them out at monkeysuncle.net. They got a lot of cool gear. It's pretty awesome.
Definitely will. Those of you that follow Mooncutters, you can follow me at TJE Joker on Twitter, at Mooncutters on Twitter for the show. On YouTube, you can follow us at the best way to help out and help me expand. Like, subscribe, follow that logo up there, Running Force Productions on YouTube. And by the way, I'm surprised. I actually got it right on the first try this time. Usually I try to point right and end up pointing the wrong direction.
Dude, I do it all the time. I try and tell people, oh, yeah, look for our... And I go like, but I would do this.
Well, you did it right. First. You did it right on the first time, too.
I did. Because I said, I do it all the time. I'm in my head, I'm thinking I have to do it right. And I always go like this. And I'm like...
But like, subscribe, follow us on Running Force Productions on YouTube, Running Force, one word. I'm still in talks to see if I can't find myself a Chiefs representative to come in here before next week's game as well. Ultimately, I wish I would have had that lined up in advance because my plan originally would have been to have on one side have an Eagles representative, on the other side have a KC representative, and do it like a debate style Tale of the Tape episode, but that didn't work out.
Yep. That would have been great. Well, I would have been like this. Philly versus everybody, buddy. That's all it is.
All right, Eric. You've been awesome. Stay on for a minute after I close out.
No problem.
Yeah, everybody definitely check these guys out on their podcasts and channels as well. But As
Yeah, I
always,
also forgot, I do put the podcast out over Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So just look for Philly Philly Podcast and hit the subscribe button.
I know I'm primarily on Spotify. Apple's a bit of a pain to get everything set up on.
Well, for me, Apple wasn't too bad. Spotify, I just did that because our platform that we use to put everything out is on Anchor, and Anchor is Spotify. So you automatically have a Spotify. You're automatically up there. So, and I had Anchor gets you on a bunch of different places, but every now and then, like if your numbers aren't good, they drop you off of some stuff, but you're always on Spotify, and we do enough to be on Apple. So I was like, I'm just going to use those two.
But anyways, guys, this is Geoffrey being joined by Eric from the Philly Philly podcast today, signing off.